supplies to health facilities is sustained. Thirdly, focus on household economic strengthening. Social protection should be a springboard, not a permanent safety net. In Kisumu, we have since learned that freebies are not sustainable. In agriculture, we have introduced a subsidy funding model for inputs. We have partnered with Equity Bank for a subsidy wallet whereby farmers are linked to registered stores for various inputs. With their wallets, they pay a percentage of their needs, and the county government supplements a percentage directly to the store through the bank. This encourages ownership and commitment on the part of the farmer. This builds families' economic resilience, empowering them to eventually pay for services themselves and graduate out of poverty. Having shared my thoughts, allow me to resume my seat briefly and be enriched by a contribution from the great professionals who are here to share their insights on this and related subjects. But that will be very brief. However, as I mentioned in my opening, the bodies from that accident are being removed today from the morgue, and as the governor, I want to share the moment with the families at the mortuary, which will be taking place at around 11:30. I will then have to excuse myself before the conclusion of this discussion to be in Kisumu in time for that solemn moment. Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen. I wish you a very fruitful deliberations, and I wish you a very happy stay in Homa Bay, the county of endless potential. Asanteni sana, Mungu wabariki.
Thank you so much. Let's give him another round of applause, Your Excellency, for the interventions that you are implementing to improve the welfare of children, and also the duty that is ahead of you that you're going to accomplish in the next few hours. Thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, we now get to the next speaker. Allow me to welcome the board chair of KIPRA, Professor Paul Wachane, to move forward to the podium and welcome our keynote speaker, the Principal Secretary, Dr. Boniface Makoha, State Department for Economic Planning. Karibu sana, Prof. Let's give him a round of applause.
I'm told.
Yeah.
Yes. Thank you, the moderator. So, good morning. Thank you. The Principal Secretary, State Department of Economic Planning, who is our chief guest, Dr. Makoha Boniface, Principal Secretary, State Department of Children Services, Corin Okego, His Excellency, the Governor of Kisumu County, Professor Peter Nyang'anyong, the National Development Partners present, of course led by UNICEF representative, the national government officials present, county government officials in the House, delegates from various agencies in the house na watu wa Homa Bay, hamujambo. Good morning. My task today is very simple, basically to welcome our guests. And like as I looked at the theme of this site event, that is financing the social sectors for equity and inclusion. I was asking myself, are we all on the same page in understanding, in fact, what the theme is all about? Looking at the key recipient of the social sector investments, those are the G-Train, right from unborn all the way to reaching the social services transfer payments, it raises a lot of critical issues or questions that need to be addressed. Right from our priorities in terms of investment in the health sector, nutrition, social protection, water, sanitation, and energy. The question is, does our national government, that's Kenya, prioritize these resources, or is it just a matter of pumping the amounts of it's part of its budget? Or which sector or which aspect is majorly favored in this budget allocation? Is what we are doing at the county government reflects the best practices as we look across the globe? Is there a mismatch that needs to be linked up? So those are some of the things that as participants today, I will be interested in understanding whether that's being done and this implication on the children's health and basically status. Without going into much details, of course, I had made some things I had wanted to ask His Excellency the Governor, but he was gracious enough to tell me that I should reach out to him, either face him or email him. Key that I was going to ask, especially those at the county governments, the CECs, that as Kipra, we are focused on public policy research analysis. That's developing tools from which we could get regulations enacted or which could guide our priorities. So we are calling upon the counties, the leadership of counties, to consider in their gracious way allocating some budget, be it 1% of their budget to Kipra, so that Kipra can come and provide capacity building in these important sectors. And we will not limit ourselves, of course, to the issues of children, but we'll go beyond that. So providing capacity so that the county governments are better positioned to intervene in matters of children health, among other things, would be a critical opportunity and a critical priority. So with those few remarks, my job was basically to welcome our PS to come and make his remarks. Then the director, of course, Elder, will provide the technical aspects of what's required. So at this point, I would like to invite the PS, Principal Secretary, State Department of Economic Planning, our boss, Dr. Boniface Barasa, to come and address the gathering. Thank you, Dr. Thank you.
Thank you, Prof. Before I start, I want to join the governor of Kisumu, who has just left, in condoling with the people of Kisumu for the loss, and by extension, Kenya. I believe there is a moment. Okay, thank you. I believe that the loss is very devastating to all of us, and we need to join in and mourn with those who are mourning. Having said that, I want to take this opportunity to acknowledge the presence of excellencies. If we have any governor or the representative, I also want to acknowledge the presence of my colleague PS Karen, members of Parliament, honorable members. I saw Honorable Atandi, senior government present, DGs, CEOs of parastatals, led by our own DGs, that is from Kipra and KNBS. Ladies and gentlemen, good morning. It gives me a great pleasure and privilege to join you today at this important side event dubbed Financing Social Sector for Equity and Inclusion at Devolved Level, co-hosted by the United Nations Children Fund, UNICEF, and UN Women at the sidelines of this devolution conference. Today, as we gather to elevate the debate on how better to finance social sectors, as we also launch two critical reports prepared by the Kenya National Bureau of Statistics, and these two reports are on the title Brighter Tomorrow, Breaking Cycles of Poverty for Kenya's Children, and the second report is on Women's Empowerment report. As you may be aware, the State Department for Economic Planning, of which I am in charge, is mandated to, among other functions, to manage the national statistics as well as undertake national census, economic and housing survey. The State Department undertakes this function through KNBS, the Kenya National Bureau of Statistics, whose key mandate is sector-specific data collection, report writing, and dissemination. It is within these confines that in the year 2024, KNBS, with the support of UNICEF and UN Women, initiated a study to provide the required evidence on social sector performance. Both the financial and non-financial indicators were dealt with. The study inspired by the need to monitor one of the core goals of devolution, promotion of physical equity and accelerating poverty reduction across all regions of the country. Distinguished ladies and gentlemen, children are at the heartbeat of our nation's future. To secure that future, we must understand how they grow up and whether we truly meet their needs. The Brighter Tomorrow's Breaking Cycles of Poverty for Kenya's Children report draws data from the latest Kenya Demographic and Health Survey, that is of 2022, and applies the UNICEF's multiple overlapping deprivation analysis to provide a comprehensive picture of child vulnerability in Kenya today. The findings show that Kenya is home to 21 million children, of which they form 42% of the population. While notable gains have been made to ensure that child survival education protection is guaranteed, a significant proportion of Kenya's children continue to face poverty, nutrition, inadequate access to basic services, and other risks that threaten their well-being. More than half of Kenya's children are multidimensionally poor, experiencing deprivation in at least 3 dimensions of their well-being simultaneously. These disparities are stuck with children in rural areas being more than twice as likely to be multidimensionally poor compared to their urban counterparts. If you look at the percentages, they are 66% in the rural areas compared to 28% in the urban areas. The regional inequalities have persisted, with counties such as Mandera, Turkana, Samburu, and Wajir reporting deprivation rate exceeding 90%. While on the other hand, counties like Nairobi, Kiambu, and Nyeri have the lowest rates of this deprivation. This highlights the urgent need for targeted and equity-driven interventions. The report further shows that only a small fraction of children benefit from social assistance program. In fact, indicative findings from the physical incidence analysis reveals that poorer households receive less government spending on essential services, especially education and health. And this report was presented, I think, the other day by Kipra. A very detailed analysis was presented on this, so I believe we can also have opportunity to look at it. On the positive, the report highlights that early childhood development spending is a smart investment. It is worth investing in the young population as a priority to reduce inequality. Similarly, apart from the report on the children, the Women's Empowerment Report highlights also a critical but often overlooked fact. Women's empowerment is a necessity. Women's empowerment plays a vital role in advancing gender equality and driving sustainable development. Empowering women is not only a matter of equity, it is a powerful catalyst for social change as well as a strategic investment for child survival and development. And I want to remind us that that is why we have even a resolution from the UN, Resolution 1325 of the UN Security Council, that is specifically on matters to do with gender, where women empowerment is given a priority. The analysis of women's empowerment in Kenya report was based on data from the 2022 Kenya Demographic and Health Survey report. As established in the analysis, 40.6% of women in Kenya are considered empowered. Women in urban areas, those with a higher level of education, and those from the wealthier households tend to be more empowered, highlighting a significant disparities when you compare with those from the rural areas. The analysis also establishes a clear link between women empowerment and better outcome for their children's future. It was observed that empowered women are more likely to ensure their children receive essential services such as health and education. Thus, they are less likely to be multidimensionally poor. Specifically, when women have access to resources, decision-making power, and social support, their children thrive. And you will agree with me, and allow me to come to bring us back home here in Homa Bay. The governor is a woman, and us, people of Homa Bay, yeah, we are thriving. Ladies and gentlemen, these findings call for urgent action. I therefore echo the recommendations in the report, which include: 1, expand inclusive child benefits. Move towards universal systems that reach all vulnerable children. 2, improve access to health and nutrition, especially in poor and rural households, through immunization, food supplementation, and caregiver support. 3, reduce educational disparities by investing in infrastructure, teacher training, and inclusive education, particularly for children with disabilities. 4, strengthen child protection systems, including mobile birth registration and support for child-headed households. 6, build climate resilience by integrating child-focused adaptation into disaster preparedness and education system. And finally, promote women's empowerment as a cornerstone for child development through targeted social, economic, and policy intervention. As I conclude, ladies and gentlemen, I wish to extend my sincere gratitude to UNICEF and the UN for their continued partnership and commitment to advancing children and women well-being in Kenya. Special thanks to KNBS team, KIPRA team, for the analysis and the production of the 2 reports. The evidence is clear. The time to act is now. Let us commit across government, development partners, and of course including civil societies, to ensure that every child in Kenya has the opportunity to thrive, and that every woman has the power to help them to do so. Thank you, and I wish you a fruitful deliberation. Santeni sana.
Let's give another round of applause. It is indeed the time to act. The time to act is now. With a few people behind us who are too scattered behind the main dais, we're asking you to come forward. There's plenty of red seats, The people behind, please join us, because we're getting to the happiest moment that I'm going to announce in the next few minutes. Thank you so much, PS, for those kind words. Thanks so much for the recommendations. Thank you so much for even much more suggestions that we can consider as we move forward with financing social sectors for equity and inclusion, a side event that is brought to you by the UNICEF, UN Women, KIPRA, the KNBS, and the World Bank, with support from development partners that include the Koldard Hildard Foundation, the Podcast Foundation, the governments of Netherlands, Norway, Sweden, and United Kingdom. Indeed, we appreciate all the support. At this moment, we are about to launch two critical reports that two institutions led by the Kenya National Bureau of Statistics have produced and supported by UNICEF and the UN Women. And I'm going to invite a few dignitaries to join the podium so that we can together take these into success. I want to invite the Director General, Dr. MacDonald Obudho of the Kenya National Bureau of Statistics. He is the author and the lead of this publication, Karibu Sana Daktari. PS, Kalin, please join. Gabi, this can't happen without you and with all your support as well. We have the board chair as well. KIPRA has contributed a lot to this as well. Please welcome the board chair. We also have the acting ED. Please welcome. Did I see the CEO of NGC? This is about vulnerable populations as well. Please join. The UN Women representative, anyone representing the UN Women? Please come, yes, Daktari. So that we can do this together, please come. Very good. And I hope you're enjoying the music at the background. That also gives us a minute or so to just wipe off the butterflies a little bit. At this moment, I want to invite the DG, Dr. MacDonald Obudho of the Kenya National Bureau of Statistics, to speak a little, give a hook statement about the publication that we are about to launch. You can either use this podium or the microphone with you, whichever you're comfortable with. Doc, please. Okay.
Thank you so much, Paul, for the chance, and all protocols observed. Good morning. Now, from the Kenya National Bureau of Statistics perspective, I'm really excited that we have gone this far, and we are at a point that we are now having two reports to launch. These two reports are actually coming from a data mining process, taking note of the fact that undertaking surveys would require a lot of resources, and once done, we do not just depend on the basic reports that are produced, and so we decided to go ahead together with a number of partners and supported by development partners to come up with the child vulnerability report together with the women economic empowerment report, so that we are able to see deeply what the data talks about. And it's also a question of triangulation of information, where we are able to get from different reports data that had been done earlier to help us get to where we are today. And it brings out a number of salient issues which should be addressed by the county governments, the national government, and all partners that are keen on the topic that we're dealing with today. And so from our end, it's a question of how well do you utilize that information that has been generated. Two, we get encouraged when we see progress made arising from data that we are producing. Three, we keep on updating the data that we are producing so that at any given time we have reliable information to utilize. And for that matter, we have heard of 2022 Kenya Demographic and Health Survey. I know continuing to do DHS in Kenya would require a different approach, having had USAID going off, and that was the main funding institution. But we have also made good progress to bring on board a number of partners to come up with what we call the mini DHS, which we are going to conduct this year. We are actually at the stage of doing the pilot, after which we'll now embark on the main exercise. We have Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation also coming in to support the process. And so we are confident that within the year, we'll be able to get fresh information related to the demographic and health survey. On top of that, we are also working on the Kenya Integrated Household Budget Survey, which has already taken off. We are on our third week of data collection, and we hope that in the next 1 year we shall be through with the data collection, so that we can now analyze the report, and that will also be very rich, and we'll be able to mine a lot of information on various aspects, including poverty. So I would want to stop it at that. Thank you so much, Paul.
Thank you. This is how we will do it. When you start by launching the one on children, it's titled Bright Futures, for children in Kenya, 2025. We have a detailed report and a summary report here. So this is an easy to read. We represent the children as well. So something they can easily pick up themselves and read. And this moment, on a count of 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. Now, Mr. President, very well. Now, ladies and gentlemen, we want to move to the second publication. 10 days has done a lot. Other than this publication, the chair will give you a comment to bring in the second publication. Look to the glass of holding this isn't it? And the representing the children, that's the way we are.
Less copies.
Okay. Very well. And on a count of 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. We count Women's empowerment in Kenya, developing a measure. The women's empowerment in Kenya, developing a measure. Thank you so much, the chief guests. Thank you so much, all the dignitaries, PS, Karine, Gabby, Paul, Professor, the chair of Kipra Board, McDonald, the author and the leader of this, Asante Sana, the CEO, National Gender and Equality Commission, who has a lot to do to monitor how these reports are implemented, the acting director, executive director, Kipra as well, Dr. Simiyu as well, who provided all the technical support, everyone else who is seated with us. Thank you so much for being part of this historic moment when you are launching the 2 publications on reducing vulnerabilities among women and children. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. You may take your seat. And now invite the guests to resume and take their positions. We thank you so much. Thank you so much. Oh, you okay? Okay. Thank you so much, the chief guests. Thank you so much, all the dignitaries. Thank you so much, UNICEF, UN Women, Kipra, the Kenya National Bureau of Statistics as well. Now, you may notice that the program that we have used is completely different from what we shared this morning or yesterday. I've learned vidu vijanganga, meaning that things can change anytime. It's for good reasons that some of the esteemed dignitaries and guests that were supposed to be in this forum had other engagements, very urgent engagements, and we had to adjust ourselves and understand, and please pardon us, and we ask you to understand the circumstance in which we were working on this morning. Now, we get back to the program, and there is a common saying by Edward Demings, a mathematician and a statistician: in God we trust, everyone must bring data. So at this particular moment, we are going to hear more about numbers. It's going to speak to the report that you have launched. It's going to speak to everything that has been spoken before by the various speakers who stood here, including His Excellency Professor Peter Nyang'nyong'o, and Gabby as well, the PS as well, and the chair of Kipra Board, and what Dr. McDonald as well has alluded to. So at this moment, allow me to invite the acting executive director of Kipra to come and make a technical presentation, Daktari. And after that, we are going to have a panel that is going to reflect on her presentation. I invite you to take keen interest and attention to her presentation. I truly believe she has made it very simple for us to understand. Karibu sana, Daktari.
We proceed with the presentation, and this is work that has been done with support from the various institutions, right from the support from our State Department for Economic Planning, UNICEF, UN Women, World Bank, Kipra, KNPS, and other institutions. Why invest in people? As we have been told right from the beginning, Kenya is one of the lucky nations, whereby over 75.1% of our population is aged 0 to 34 years. And we know that going forward, most of the people who are going to work, not only in Kenya, but in the world, are coming from Africa. Hence, if we have to sustain our development, we need to look at how do we invest in the key sectors that relate to social protection and also that relate to national disparities that have to be addressed. When we look at the analysis that has been done, we find that from the Women Development Index and also the fiscal incidence analysis and also the analysis on the financial spending for the period from 2013 up to 2024, the analysis shows that as a nation, we need to put more emphasis and more effort on how we finance the sectors that are driving the economy. And here, the social sectors are quite important because as the GDP has expanded from 2014 up to 2022, the levels of poverty have not declined in the equal measure. Further, there is disconnect in terms of the inequalities across the regions and also across the counties. The dimensions that drive the spending and also that lead to the deprivations that we see relate to the following. First, the dimensions where children are most deprived are in sanitation, housing, water, and also in the living conditions. The analysis shows that where we have low levels of nutrition, we have low levels of well-being, which then means higher levels of deprivation. The other indication we have from this analysis is that multidimensional poverty levels increased between 2024 and 2025. The arid and semi-arid counties, where counties like Mandera, Turkana, Tana River had higher levels of poverty and multidimensional deprivations. We have hidden drivers of deprivations among children, and this relates to the level of education of the mothers. We also have the levels of persons with disabilities, whereby if a child is in a household where we have a person with disability or a mother with a low level of education, those have higher chances of being deprived. We also find that only 40.6% of Kenyan women are empowered, with major gaps by location, wealth, education, and also the marital status. The rural areas have higher levels of deprivation because in urban areas and also where we have women with higher income and more educated persons, then we have lower levels of deprivation. When it comes to health spending by category, and here we are looking at health, water, sanitation, and hygiene, it is quite evident that as a nation, these are sectors that we need to invest more so that we are able to reduce the disparities and deprivations that we are experiencing. When it comes to education, and here we have analyzed the pre-primary education and areas of social protection, it is evident that as a nation, we need to spend more in the foundations and the needs of children right from the early years, because they've been found to have more benefits and better outcomes even at higher education and also at tertiary levels. In social protection, here it is to counter the effects of deprivations, and for counties and regions to catch up, then this is an area of intervention so that we are able to get those who have been left behind to catch up with those who are ahead, and that's why most of the programs like the Inua Jamii comes in very handy. Under nutrition has a share of spending, as well as nutrition spending as a percentage of GDP, we find that the curve has flattened. What then that means is, despite the importance of spending on nutrition, the level of prioritization is still very low, and this is an area where we are advocating for more investments so that we are able to break the cycle of poverty and also improve human capital development in totality and eliminate any inequalities that come along with low nutrition and related deprivations, as well as putting more emphasis on education, health, and child development. The analysis further shows that when we spend less in the lower levels of schooling, it has long-term effects in the higher levels of education. This is because the children who are not covered in pre-primary education, for instance, they will not be able to progress to higher education, and hence, when we are spending in higher education, the people who will benefit at that level are from the higher income groups who will have managed to have their children go through the full cycle, right from the pre-primary, primary, secondary, all the way up to tertiary education. Then what is the call for action from this work? The first call for action is to invest in early childhood development for inclusive growth. And this covers right from the first 1,000 years of development to pre-primary, primary, secondary, and ensuring that as our young people graduate from education, they are able to link to employment and the systems for transition from schooling to employment, which also relates to empowerment, have to be strengthened both at national and county levels. The second call for action is to expand social protection to reduce child poverty and build human capital for the nation and ensure that no one is left behind. Finally, we need to continue mobilizing more resources for social protection and also the social sectors so that we are able to have inclusive social transformation for our nation that fuels economic development and sustained growth. Thank you.
Wow. Let's give her a round of applause. We can do better than that. I can hear you. Dr. Elda Onsomu, she is the acting executive director for KIPRA. And the numbers we have and the story is narrated. We are getting into an important session where we are going to have a reflection on what Dr. Elda has presented, a reflection on what the other speakers have presented to us. And at this moment, allow me to get into that session. We're going to have a few speakers who are going to, or a panel. I'm going to invite them, and you'll join me in welcoming them onto the stage so that they can reflect and give us a few thoughts. The first one is CPA PS Karine Agengo. She is the Principal Secretary at the State Department for Children's Services under the Ministry of Gender. Please join me in welcoming Madam P.S. Klein to the floor. I presume that the full bio and profile shall be screening and printing onto the wall. Karibu sana PS. You may take the front, one of these, the center. Okay. Thank you so much. The next is Madam Mendy Jonjo. She is the director of KCB Foundation. Please join me in welcoming Madam Mendy Jonjo. Karibu sana, Madam Mendy. We had invited the World Bank as well. They are not able to join us because of various reasons. And so we pass the apologies to the participants who are present in here. We had also invited an expert from public policy. He's a public policy specialist. Due to unavoidable circumstances, he had to travel yesterday back to Nairobi, but had presented and prepared his responses to the questions that we had wanted to ask him. And therefore, I'm going to invite Madam Wangoi Karanja, who is the chief of UNICEF Kisumu Field Office. She's going to be reading the responses of that specialist, and therefore we cannot direct questions to her. She can only take comments, and she can take them back to the author of the responses. Let's give them another round of applause. Okay. We may begin, and I'm going to start by a few questions. Some of the questions will be preceded by a commentary or a statement to put things into the context. So that will take some time, but I will ask all the panelists to take note of their questions and then take a moment and move on to the reflections. I'll start with the CPAPS. I'm careful about the pronunciation of her first name. She reminds me, Screen. Now, given the significant number of children who live in multidimensional poverty, about 55% actually, equivalent to 12 million children, what specific programs is the government of Kenya implementing to caution the most vulnerable children? That will be my first question. Allow me to take you to the second question. Is that fair? And then you put it all together because they are somewhat related. I'll start with a hook statement. The government of Kenya made a commitment to expand the coverage of households receiving cash transfers to 2.5 million by 2027. So far, the government has done very well by reaching 1.7 households in 2025 and indeed meeting the target for the period. However, children are not adequately covered. The government midterm plan target is reaching 741,000 children by 2027, with 2025 coverage being about 442,000 children. P.S. There is a gap. Okay? Our apologies, but we are good? Thank you. But P.S. there's a gap of about 299,000 orphans and vulnerable children that needs to be covered by 2027. With that statement, then I have two questions for you, PS. What plans does the government have to cover the 299,000 OVC's gap by 2027? And then two, which is related to my first question, what measures is the government putting in place to ensure adequate financing for the coverage of children and sustaining the same in the long term. Karibu sana, Madam PS.
Thank you very much. And first of all, allow me to sincerely thank the KIPRA team together with the ministry for putting up a very good report that we have just launched, because this report is part of evidence that can help us in planning and budgeting for children. And I'm glad that we are having the chair of the budget committee in this discussion, because his office is critical when it comes to matters of budgeting for children. Now, looking at the statistics, that children form about 42% of our population. First of all, I want to say that the government has taken a critical step in establishing a department that is now taking care of children. You note that this department was not in place until this year in April. And so that is one step that the government has taken, having looked at the past surveys that have been done on matters affecting children and seen that we need to first establish an office that purely takes care of children. And that is one good step that the government has done. Next, the government also appreciates that we have vulnerable children in this nation. And one significant program that the government has taken is to have a cash transfer for the orphans and vulnerable children, currently reaching 442,000, as you have indicated, as of 2025. And this program stabilizes various incomes for households, improving children's access to health, nutrition, and education. However, we note there is a gap, and I will be addressing that in the next question. So this program has seen great impact on the children, retaining the children in the schools, and allowing their caregivers to provide for their food. And it is hoped that with this program, we should be able to address the poverty that is affecting orphans and vulnerable children. In addition to the cash transfer, the government also has a nutritional improvement program through cash and health education. We are calling it Niche, and Niche is a cash plus program that has been already piloted in 5 counties based on statistics showing high poverty levels in these counties. And these are counties of Kitui, we have Marsabit, we have West Pokot, Turkana, and Kilifi. If you looked at the report that was just launched, these are the counties that are deeply affected by poverty. And so the first pilot was done in these counties through a cash plus transfer to be able to take care of mothers who are pregnant and also children who are below 36 months. Why below 36 months? Because this is the age where a child develops. And why pregnant mothers? That a child develops from the mother's womb. If you don't take care of the nutrition of the mother, by the time the child is born, the child's development will already be affected. Therefore, this program acknowledges that the development cycle of a child starts from when a child is conceived. And we are planning to roll out this program to additional counties, and the next phase will be 20 counties which have already been mapped based on the poverty index of these counties. Therefore, if you look at the report we have just looked at, the government is already focusing on an evidence-based approach to address the needs of the vulnerable. I also want to say that we are also looking at reaching at least 100,000 children with this program by 2027. And this will be able to address nutrition and also education of the mothers of the young children so that they use their local resources to improve on nutrition of these children. And that will have a multiplier effect when it comes to growth of children and consequently building our economy in the Through the Ministry of Education, the government also has put in place a school feeding program, and the chair of the budget committee here will confirm that this year the government has allocated 3 billion towards school feeding program, and this is mainly targeting again the ASAL region, because looking at again the statistics we've just seen, this is the area that is mostly affected, and also informal settlements in the urban centers. So this will enhance school attendance, because you saw education is one of the key areas that where vulnerable children are mostly affected. So there will be increased school attendance, and also food will ensure cognitive development for food insecure children. In addition to that, the government also has in place a presidential bursary program, and this is targeting 22,300 needy learners in the secondary schools, especially children from the vulnerable families and mainly orphans. And one thing I want to say about this program, ensure the school transition into the secondary school, and also retention of these children in the secondary school. My comment on the issue of bursary, and it is one thing that we can deliberate on, that we do have various sources of disbursing the bursaries. We have the counties disbursing bursaries, we have the Ministry of Education, we have the CDF, and we do also have the presidential bursary. So my suggestion, as we are discussing today, that we need to have one single point, because we have targeted the vulnerable group. We have a system in place where we have a children officer all the ground to the sub-county level who are able to identify the vulnerable groups through the chiefs. And therefore, if we use one system for disbursing this bursary, we'll be able to create a greater impact, and also it will ensure accountability is enhanced when it comes to bursary. So that is one thing that I would pass to especially the chair of the budget committee, and also our various institutions when it comes to even amending the laws to provide for one channel for disbursing the bursaries. Now, the government, recognizing that we also do have homeless families, has put in place Street Families Rehabilitation Trust Fund to take care of children living in the streets, and this fund ensures these families are rescued from the streets, rehabilitated and reintegrated back to the society. And this is one successful program where since 2018 we established there were about 46,000 300 street families have been reintegrated back to the society, while additional 20,000 are ongoing rehabilitation. It's a process that requires a lot of engagement, supporting these families through psychosocial support to bring them on board to accept that they can go back to the society. Therefore, this is also one key area, because anybody living in the streets is a vulnerable person. In addition, the government also has established a system for tracking vulnerable children, be it children in the emergencies. We do have what we call the Child Protection Information Management System that can track and locate where a child in need of danger or in emergency situations is rescued. And we monitor through data tracking and giving support in cases of emergencies like floods and fires. And this is also a system that helps in dealing with vulnerability when it comes to children. And the last program that I would like to talk about is we are rolling out this financial year a program to address adolescents, because we have established that there's a problem of teenage pregnancy in this nation. 15% of our girls are exposed to teenage pregnancy, and therefore through our Kenya Socio-Economic Inclusion Program, we are rolling out a program in the near 3 months on teenage pregnancies. This is a partnership we are having with the World Bank, and we are hoping, again, we are targeting Samburu, Marsabit, Turkana, Migori, Bungoma, Kilifi, Tana River, Wajir, Mandera. Why I want to mention these are areas that we have established the high prevalence of teenage pregnancy, and we shall escalate this to cover about 60,000 adolescents with a view of giving them first an opportunity to go back to school, to enhance their education, and also giving psychosocial support when it comes to mental health, and also giving them life skills so that they can be economically empowered. You saw the report, when a woman is empowered, the child is also empowered, and poverty rate will come down. So those are the programs that the government is doing to support the vulnerable society.
Thank you so much, Madam PS. I've counted like 6 interventions. Interesting. And we hope that those interventions are going to cover the gap of in excess of 299,000 OVCs. Now, I turn to Mandy Jojo. She's the director of KCB Foundation. And Mandy, Kenya's constrained fiscal space is currently constrained by the shrinking donor funding that has been instrumental in financing some of the key programs. The Kenya's net official development assistance and official aid received in 2022 was about 2.73 billion US dollars, a decrease from 3.18 billion US dollars and 4.22 billion US dollars received in 2021 and 2020 respectively. Now, with this shrinking official development assistance, rising debt obligations, and persistent poverty among children and vulnerable communities, the need for innovative, sustainable, and inclusive financing strategies is urgent. Philanthropy, and that's a background that you have when I read your profile, especially the homegrown like KCB Foundation, will increasingly need to play a stronger role in supporting local government, and I trust and believe you agree with me. I have 2 questions for you, Madam Medi. What specific factors could be put in place for philanthropy like KCB Foundation to expand the footprint in supporting service delivery and development in Kenya? And 2, given that decline in official development assistance, in your view, what innovative financing mechanisms do you think Kenya can adopt to promote domestic resource mobilization to sustainably fund social sectors like health, education, social protection, and many others that fall within the social sector spectrum? Over to you, Madam Medi.
Thank you for your question. Good morning, everyone. So you are indeed right that aid is in decline. Anyone who's been watching what's been happening with USAID as well as other donors, we know that we're in a world where a lot of the philanthropic capital that has been flowing towards social services is on the decline. And one of the things that has also become very clear to anyone who's in this space is that this is an opportunity not just to try and do the same thing with less, but to really rethink how it is that we deploy and use capital. So to answer your question, some of the ways that KCB Foundation, as well as also indeed the KCB group has been looking at this issue, is around how do we have philanthropic capital being used as catalytic capital. So how do we have this finance that is primarily grants or primarily developmental in nature? How do we use it to spur either private sector or public sector capital in the country? And one of the most exciting things when we talk about social services, when we talk about things like ending multidimensional poverty, one of the most exciting things that can happen is if we look at counties as the engines for which jobs are going to be created in the country. And we all know that one of the biggest gateways towards achieving a lot of our socioeconomic rights is really the ability to have a job. So some of the exciting things that have been happening in this space involve the public sector meets private sector partnerships that spur job creation at the county level. And one of the most recent things that really speaks towards this work is joint investment as well as delivery platforms that support county level job growth, as I said. And it helps if you think of this in three things. In terms of one of the things we're very clear about is that we have to finance the workforce. And counties are stepping forward to do this thing, where they are partnering with, for instance, KCB Foundation to make sure that they put in matching funds. KCB Foundation puts in matching funds to make sure that we're able to rekit as well as to retool the workforce, and not just the workforce of today, but also the workforce of the future. Beyond that, the other thing that counties are also doing is partnering with private sector. So in this case, let me say KCB Bank, to make sure that when it comes to enterprise development, we're able to really have counties putting funds primarily through the Fund Management Act that was passed that allows counties to set up MSME funds to support the enterprises in their counties. So through this, you're being able to see how public sector meets private sector is able to really spur the growth as well as the development and the catalyzing of enterprises in the county. And the third thing that is really most exciting in terms of what the counties can also leverage on is the ability to have value chain or ecosystem development in their counties, where let's say your CIDP identifies. So my take homes are three things. A good, well, it can also deliver on money that moves. So end-to-end financing. It can also deliver on growth with markets. And together, this financing is able to jumpstart workforce development in counties. It's able to jumpstart value chains that are aligned to CIDPs. And it's able to deliver private sector financing for all MSMEs that these value chains are supported by. And this is something KCB Foundation, as well as the KCB Group, has been proudly partnering with counties. We have over 29 counties in partnerships, as well as creating jobs. So we're about 150,000 jobs created just in the last few years. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Mendy, for that. PS, Madam PS, less than 5 words.
Thank you. And first of all, I would like to say that for sustainability in terms of financing, social sector, one of the things that we need to have is a coordinated approach to partnering both the, having a collaboration between the county government and the national government. We saw how fragmenting approach is leading to fragmenting also our resources. Therefore, for us to target our resources to reach the social needy and the vulnerable communities, we need to have a coordinated approach both at the county level and also at the national level. The next that I would recommend would be to ring-fence the budget allocation and also come up with alternative ways of raising funds when it comes to mobilization of funds. We do have companies that are having probably negative impact when it comes to issues of nutrition. We could tap into a percentage of the income of this private sector in bringing on board additional funding that can fund the Child Welfare Fund, which is already in place but not operationalized, for us to be able to reach the vulnerable children. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Please join me in thanking Madam P.S. Colleen Ogengo. We also have Madam Mendy Jonjo, Anthony Mwangi in absentia, and Madam Wangoi Karanja, who fit into this panel. What an esteemed panel, distinguished guests. Ladies and gentlemen, let's give them a round of applause. Thank you so much, and allow me to give them a standing ovation because it's a very powerful panel of ladies, eminent ladies. At this moment, I'm going to invite you for a headshot. The panelists, the headshot. Okay. And you shall remain standing as I invite the following. We have Dr. Elda Osunu, DG. We also have Dr. McDonald Obudo as well. You come to the stage so that you join the team. We have Professor Paul Wachana, the chair of the board, and a representative of His Excellency Peter Nyangnyong, please join. Gabi as well, please join. PS, I know he has left. PS, Dr. Boniface, a representative, but the DG is here. We have some goodies for these eminent, distinguished guests who have made this event possible. I'll ask Denge, or is it Wangoi, so that we can pass the gifts to them. No envelopes. It has to be a bag or something. Okay, thank you so much for representing. Okay. I was told they were enough, so I called everyone. Wow. Okay. They're very nice bags, very nice bags. We shall remember the UNICEF, we remember the UN Women, we remember the KNBS. Thank you so much for making it possible. The two publications. Very well. We need to transfer all the notes into those hardcover books and notebooks as well. Thank you so much. And ladies and gentlemen, I think we're just going to have the last headshot, right? Okay, there we go. Going to have the last headshot. I'll join. allow the guests to take their seats. We have come to the end of this important side event, educative, informative event, financing social sectors for equity and inclusion, brought to you by UNICEF, the World Bank, NBS, and the UN Women. And we are so grateful that you have received quite a lot of information from this session. Our apologies, we couldn't have opened this to the plenary so that you could ask questions, but we're encouraging you, if you have any comments, any concerns, any questions, please forward those to the technical team, whether it is COG, whether it is UNICEF, whether it is myself, and we'll be able to collate all those, put them together, and respond to you. We come to the end of this session, and allow me to invite Wangoi Karanja, who is the chief of the UNICEF Kisumu Field Office, to give a vote of thanks, and from there, she will direct us what next. Asante sana. Karibu, Madam Wangoi Karanja.
Thank you. So I will ride on the protocols that had been mentioned this morning, but good morning to all the delegates in the room. We've come to the close of this powerful and insightful session, and I trust that we will take a moment to reflect on the rich discussions that we've had this morning from our esteemed panelists, from those who spoke, from Governor Nyong'o, who left us a little bit earlier. We've heard about the compelling evidence and perspectives on urgent need to strengthen financing for social sectors, particularly health, nutrition, education, child protection, and social protection at a devolved level. The call to action was very clear. If equity and inclusion are to be achieved, we must invest smarter, guided by data, driven by the lived experiences and realities of our communities. The solutions are within reach. I think very quickly to summarize that, we need to invest in the early childhood development for inclusive growth, expand social protection programs to reduce child poverty and build human capital in Kenya, enhance intergovernmental coordination and financing synergies to expand fiscal space to accelerate poverty reduction, particularly for children, women and youth, and persons with disabilities. So let's take these resolutions forward with renewed commitment and urgency. And on behalf of UNICEF and our co-organizers, KIPRA, the World Bank, UN Women, I want to extend our deepest gratitude to all who have made this session a success, our distinguished panelists and speakers, the PA State Department for Economic Planning, Acting KIPRA Executive Director, Dr. Elder, our Chief of Social Policy, Dr. Gabi, PS Welfare Social Services, Karen, His Excellency Governor Nyong'o, Ms. Mendi Njonjo, Anthony Mwangi in absentia. Thank you for your leadership, your rich contributions, and your unwavering dedication to inclusive development. Our moderator, Paul Courier, thank you so much. Thank you for you skillfully guiding the conversation and ensuring everybody's voice was heard. Our development partners, Conrad Hilton Foundation, Porticus Foundation, the government of Netherlands, Norway, and Sweden, and the United Kingdom, thank you for your continued support and solidarity, and also to the delegates in the room and those who joined online. Thank you for your engagement, your well, there were no questions, unfortunately, but our commitment, I know there'll be joint commitment to take some of these important matters, issues, points discussed forward. Thank you very much. Also to the technical team, the organizers, we thank you for providing this great space and for supporting the event to ensure that we can deliver messages that inform actions that change lives and save children. I hope I leave here, we all leave here informed and inspired, and that no child, no woman, no community will be left behind. Thank you very much, and good morning.
Asanteni sana, and we come to the end of our side event. We welcome the band to take it up from there. Thank you so much. May you have a lovely Friday and safe journey back home. Thank you.
Excellency the Governor, this is the parade mounted by Scout from Moi Girls High School, Sindom, ready for your inspection.
Sound check, sound check, sound check. Sound check, sound. Sound check, sound check. Ukaguzi wa mitambo. Engineer unipandishie, pandisha. Sound check. Sound check, sound check.
Excellency the Governor, this is the parade mounted by Scout from Moi Girls High School, Sindom, ready for your inspection.
Sound check.
No mama, no mama. Just record it with the book.
Kipindi cha burudani tayari kumkaribisha Rais wa Jamhuri ya Kenya.
Check 2.
Excellency the Governor, this is the parade mounted by Scout from Moi Girls High School, Sindo, ready for your inspection.
Huluba alamri tatigabi washere wachende mwisho. Atubanduki, hatutoki hapa. Sai ni wakati wa viongozi vijana. Mheshimiwa Rais kwa hekima yake anachagua viongozi vijana, MPs, ministers, PSs, CEOs. Malaba safari no simutibia tawe. Mwaka wa 1988. Mwaka wa nenyamure kabisa vile. Mwaka wa 1988 in the wisdom of His Excellency the late Moi, Daniel Arap Moi. Kwa uongozi na uwepo wa watu wa Vihiga waliweza kumpa nafasi huyu Omwami Musalia Mudavadi. Mnamuona mumuoni? Hii safari venye mnenda hamjepotea kutembea na kijana mdogo kama mimi. Mimi niko na miaka 34. Mwami Mudavadi aliingia na miaka 28. Iko mtu anaitwa Salasia ako na miaka 35. Watu wa Malava uongozi ni wa vijana. Numuyanza banu banje. Numuyanza. Miaka chibiritsino mareka sisikareno. Makuba ke stima, makuba ke mianda, makuba ka masomo. No muyanza banu wes kabras. Wala boro be kubera kana, lakini kana kalabra ta kar no kutia. Nambra kweli bana beru. Oh, mwana kwa munduno, numuyanza. Nenya koleshera we nao. Na mmanyemri lero luno vijana wanasema vijana mpige kura hapa Malava. Huu ni wakati wa nyinyi vijana kuonyesha kuwa mmesimama na kijana mwenzenu. Bashere sana laka sana tayo na manyema kumkolanga. Mwaka la miaka karibu 12 ni mchana na mheshimiwa wenu watia ulia. Asa kamosi kaka ngaha. Nenya mchana na sekala. Muhimu kulia kwa ruko mwalimu andala kulia. Nataka kuendeleza kana nataka kuendeleza buliwe na kanda nataka kule kasi ngeri yenu kupata mheshimiwa wenu watia ulia. Mlambura kweli. Kwenda tawe hii safari iko sawa na kijana ko tayari. Nataka kusaidia wamama na pesa yangu shilingi 10,000. Mungu awabariki, tutembee pamoja.
Aya. Wewe Mungwana anatosha ama atoshi? Aendelee kuomba kura Nyinyi ndio mtaamua. Asante sana. Wapi kuna mheshimiwa Shimaka kutoka hapa West Kabaras. Karibisha Haya.
Wakabarasi mirembe. Mirembe jana mlekwa. Bandu be Malaba bosi mirembe. Siembere na makuba kataru. Kumera bari wakili Shimaka shinenya kutama huwa manyingi tawe. Mheshimiwa Prime Cabinet Secretary na Msa Faruk tunashukuru vile mmetembea na sisi. Mheshimiwa Esienda amenyirenye nende na mlekwa bari Felista Shimaka. Mama wanje ufwire ndayabira mukamba. Chimukupira kopole. Mukupira kopole baye. Esabe kukura noe mulejera kopole. Lakheba chanjira ko shijira mwezi mulenya khonywa khoita. Eba chanjira khoita. Aya, mchango kwanje ndanano singizi 1100 kusimama na wamama. Kumahuba ke Malaba kulinga mmanyire siesi ndasinjira khushama sha UDA na ndasabange kura khutekhora abandu be Malaba ekasi urema nanga. Bwana Prime Cabinet Secretary na Safaruku tunashukuru vile mmetembea na sisi. Asante khwanyole district ita khwanyole district shali toru mwana khwebe lakini achiro khunyola tsingubo ita khunyorera khotsi office lakini muyanza omwanda ko khurule shihome kuitsepa ke shikutse kwambushe pake Burundi shikanya khakulombwe khulenya kulombwe ita banga barenya mwanda kule kulombwe lekhuba lya khabiri district yefu yimbia ibele sibitari khulebo ye Malaba yiri atashibuli bwatoto sibitari nomba khuleshe barenya sibitari ne banga khuchinja kho mukhono. Mimi nikimalizia mimi ni wakili. Kwa manya khuri khulasinjira ni serikali khuchinja kho mukhono ikulu ya UDA khuchinja mukhono ikulu mandenya khubola makhuba kana no khukalushira ita tukulasinjira serikali ndenya khubola khuri mimi obolelira lilo ita mimi wakili Shimaka bashera shimallaka ya ni kama mulabira serikali ita mulasinjira serikali aya khuchinja kho mukhono kulasinjira serikali aya khukalushere mimi nobolelira lilo ita mimi Shimaka na hapa kwamba nitasimama na serikali ya William Ruto na Musalia Mudavadi na Faruku. Ewe Mwenyezi Mungu nisaidie. Msikara hobile iko.
Huyo Shimaka anatosha ama atoshi? Kwanza tumwambie pole kwa kupoteza mama, sio? Na amekuwa mkarimu kuja kusimama na nyinyi. Nyinyi mnasema namna gani? Mnamwambia pole. Wapi vikelekele yake aendelee kuomba kura? Basi tumefika mwisho na mimi nitaita kiongozi wetu wa serikali aite kiongozi wetu wa taifa. Bwana DCC aje aseme mambo ya serikali hapa ndio aite kiongozi wa taifa. Wapi makofi ya bwana DCC wetu hapa?
Asante sana Faruk, our Prime Cabinet Secretary, wabunge wote wako hapa, waheshimiwa na wakaji wa Malaba. Mrembe tena. Wapi shangwe na vigelegele kwa wageni wetu kwa siku ya leo. Kwa majina mimi naitwa Peter Majiwa, mimi ndio DCC wa hapa. Saa mimi nitanena tu machache. Watu wa Kabras West, mko? Saa mimi nilitumwa hapa mwezi wa pili kama DCC. Na tangu hiyo siku kuna changes mingi zimeonekana hapa, si ndio? Nikiongea siku ya leo saa Kabras West kuna kazi imetangazwa. Mko aware? Serikali imetangaza kazi. Tuko na locations ngapi? 2. Tuko na gani? Chevoso, Shikuse, umenipata? Siyo ni kazi kwa vijana. Wale wako na qualifications tunataka mufanye nini? Na mkitoka hapa mpitie kwa ofisi yangu, Kwa notice board mtapata advertisement. Wapi makofi kwa serikali? Tuko pia na sub locations ngapi? Moja ni Ndulusia, ingine ni Shikuse. Wapi na wapi? Ndulusia na wapi? Makofi kwa serikali kwa kazi mzuri. Wamama mkitoke hapa muende muambie vijana kwamba kazi iko na imetangazwa leo. Kitu ya pili ni mambo ya SHA. SHA inaendelea, registration inaendelea. Sama chiefs wangu pale kule kijijini wanaendelea kutafuta wale hawaja register. Na chiefs muendelee na hiyo kazi. Si mnafanya hiyo kazi? Muhakikishe kwamba watu wote, wamama wote, wajane, wazee na vijana wamefanya nini? Wamefanya registration. Tuko pamoja hapo? Muende mufanye hiyo kazi. Saa sina mengi ya kusema kwa sababu juu ya saa. Ningependa tu nialike security team yangu. Musimame tu muwave. Security team. Sisi wangu mko wapi? Sawa, hiyo ndio timu yangu. Kwa hivyo nataka nialike Mheshimiwa PCS Musalia Mudavadi. Mbona sisikii sangwe na vigelegele? Sangwe, kelele kwa mheshimiwa. Sangwe na vigelegele. Shangwe. Karibu mheshimiwa, karibu.
Songa mbele. Malava hoye! Malava muri baramu! Muri mwoyo! Musangalile! Asante sana. Mimi ndio mwana wa Hana. Ma-DVD. Nimekuja nyumbani Malava. Kwa sababu nyinyi ni nguzo yangu. Na leo mumeona ndugu zetu wakiongea, wajumbe, MCS, PS, ambassador, alafu tena mumeona candidates wetu wa UDA wakisimama hapa na wakiomba kura mbele yenu. Si namna hiyo? Sasa kabla sijasema yangu, nataka nitende mambo mawili. Mumbudiranga? Nataka nitende mambo mawili. La kwanza, wanyamarume uzalusha. Ndamoro maziosi, no? Lakini pia tunataka ili taifa nzima lijue watu wa Malava wamesema, si ndio? Mimi nataka niite wale candidates wote wale keti. Wengine wote mfanye nini? Si ndio hiyo? Mumeona nikizungumza kwa siasa, hata sasa nikitoka hapa niko na mkutano mwingine kwa sehemu nyingine ya Malava. Si ndio hiyo? Hawa wote sijui kama kuna yeyote ambaye hayuko hapa. Lakini mimi nazungumza kwa mambo ya UDA, si ndio?
Yule ambaye hayuko hapa anataka tikiti yetu ni nani? Andanje peke yake. Andanje peke yake. Si namna hiyo? Sasa mimi nataka tu hapa nikisimama hapa, kwa sababu UDA pahali tuliko tuko na vice chairman wa kitaifa. Mimi ni mkubwa kwa serikali. Leo sitangazi ni candidate gani. Hii ni kazi ya watu wa Malava, si ndio? Nyinyi ndio mtaamua hii maneno, si ndio? Si ndio namna hiyo? Hata wengine wamekuwa wakifurugu wakimshuku rafiki yangu Faruk. Mimi nataka niseme Faruk ni rafiki wa watu wa Malava, ni ndugu wa watu wa Malava, lakini Faruk hatapiga kura hapa. Kwa hivyo ile porojo ya kusema ni kwa nini Faruk hajakuja kuchukua kura hapa. Watu wa Malava wenyewe ndio watafanya nini? Sasa sisi wote, Wangwe ni rafiki, hao ni rafiki, hatutapiga kura hapa. Lakini kwa mapenzi yetu na watu wa Malava, sisi tunakuja kuungana na nyinyi ili mfanye uamuzi nyinyi wenyewe, na sisi tuheshimu huo uamuzi. Kubehala na ni UDA, ni UDA. Hakuna mimi sijataja jina. Mimi nataka kitu kimoja tu, nataka kila mtu, kwa sababu UDA itafanya uteuzi wake kupitia kwa kisheria kulingana na sheria ya chama. Si namna hiyo? Kuna njia mbili. Moja, candidates wasikizane, ama njia ya pili tufanye free and fair nomination. Si namna hiyo? Na hatutaki kulazimisha mtu yeyote. Kile mimi nataka mtu akija hapa aseme tu hivi: je, tukimaliza uamuzi wa nomination utabaki ama utatoroka? Kwa sababu asiyekubali kushindwa, yani bandu bano basingiri hano bosi babore ndirwa kuzia muchujo gwa UDA. Bandu ba Malava members ba UDA ni bakarajimangana siiruka azihande dawe karono araba mu nyumba ya Neo, kwa sababu nyumba ya UDA ni kubwa, ni serikali, hapo ndio Ruto yuko. Kwa hivyo kama mtu hapa hapati kitu, President Ruto na Musalia Mudavadi na UDA watatafutia huyo hakupata nafasi nyingine pahali pengine. Si namna hiyo? Kwa sababu hatutaki watu wa kuweka mguu hapa na kuweka mguu kwingine. Tunataka mtu asimame imara kama simba. Si namna hiyo? Haya, mimi nauliza Ndakwa, wewe tukimaliza nomination, ukishinda sawa, usiposhinda sawa, lakini utabaki kwa chama ama utatoroka? Sema tu hiyo. Jibu tu hiyo swali. Nataka tu nisikie nitabaki ama nitaenda. Wacha kuniambia jina lako, sema tu nitabaki ama nitaenda. Ndakwa, swali imejulikana. Hebu jibu.
Mimi kama Ndakwa nitabaki kwa chama cha UDA.
Haya, ndugu yangu, kijana yangu, Injedi Junior, utabaki ama hautabaki?
Mimi Ryan Injendi Malulu, kijana mdogo, nitabaki kwa chama.
Haya, ndugu yangu Kangwana, utabaki ama hautabaki?
Mimi Kangwana Simon nitakuwa mwaminifu kwa chama cha UDA, nitapaki.
Haya, ndugu yetu, na tumemwambia pole kwa kupoteza mama, lakini pia wakili Shimaka, utabaki ama hautabaki?
Mimi kama Shimaka nitabaki kuendelea mwaminifu na mtiifu kwa chama cha UDA na serikali.
Karibu. Haya, ndio hawa wamesema watabaki, si ndio? Watasimama imara, si ndio? Sibakaraji mangana. Mbasu gubara. Imbiri wabakabaras. Imbiri wa Nyasaye. Karunu mupira kugutanje kupamba kabisa. Nyasaha murinde. Asante, munaweza keti. Haya. Sasa. Si nyinyi mmeona sasa? Siasa numbayo. Numbayo kweli? Numbayo kweli? Haya. Mundu yazayiruki yakubehera bakabras. Nauza bosi ni kwenya bosi bakorendi. Babeho. Asante sana. Haya, jambo langu la pili kwa haraka sana. Niko na vijana wawili nataka tuwasalamie 1 minute each. Na mtajua ni kwa nini. Nataka nianze na wakili Nick Biketi kuja hapa, alafu Lunani kuja hapa useme we ni nani.
Vanhu vamalava Mlembe. Mlembe te. Mlembe swa. Mheshimiwa Prime, ndugu yetu Faruk, vandu malava mwala vile sesi vali Nick Biketi na Trans Nzoia, umwana wa Nasambu, mama na Mulehwa na manyaburafu bwana Mulehwa na Mulehwa kekhalao saa zingine chishida mayanyoleho papa we sukari, saa zingine papa wa chumbe, lakini babana na bakhulile papa abo barama Mungu kweli. Babana na bakhulile papa wa Kambo arama Mungu kweli. Omwami musalia yuno Mungu mwe bwaluya omwana yuno eunwa ino seatosisye baba wa Kambo wameyeyo khumwenya lundi kweli. Mwama khulila omwami Faruk. Nomubona Faruk mwabone nani? Abase mwabone presidenti? Bubwamisa buli khulukulu ano. Bubwamisa buli ano. Faruk kama khuloma alikho bwicha wae. So khukhwesa bana befwe. So khukhwesa bwami buno. Mai na Mulehwa nenyandebe lirebo lalama ni khalasi. Baye mai befwe. Wene kakhana kho muli mu clinic. Kakhana kho khangau. Ne wajirani kanerire. Yesi kakhinyali olelo. Olelo mlesi mwana maikecha. Ewo khinya kho na mo khinya kajirani. mayiho muliano na mulehwa omwana wikina mulalasi weka mayi baita omwana weka mayi baita ngebiketi ita nono mulola homo onyala kalomako lusungu sawa sawa oliko nende experience malali nende omwami Mudavadi mwambulire kuli pamoja tutam asanteni sana
Bwana Lunani. Akina mama hai. Vijana mambo. Haya, mimi naitwa Lunani nikiwa Vice Chairman wa chama cha UDA. Kwa kitaifa. National Vice Chairman. Mimi nataka niwapatie tu mwelekeo kidogo. Hii chama ni chama ambayo inaheshimu ugatuzi. Ndipo sisi tumeamua ya kwamba watu wa Malaba wenyewe watatuchagulia kiongozi. Ndipo jana tumefungulia wale ambao wanataka kusimama katika chama cha UDA waweze kujiandikisha. Na tarehe 20 ya mwezi wa Septemba tutafanya nominations za UDA. Ndipo leo mimi nakuja mbele yenu nikiwaomba ya kwamba muweze kuangalia kwa utaratibu, muweze kuchagua kiongozi ambaye ataweza kusimama na serikali. Si namna hiyo? Abantu be Malaba hubirira huyo na melulunjendi mwalo la imbiri. Mwegira msimame barebe ho. Mahua kanona malai noru mukari nomba noru ruwanyi. Leo hubiri. Mheshimiwa msala muna abeko mbanga. Mwana nyamahua keke achakirange Malaba da. Nesiano sino simurero hura.
Now let me answer the question of what is my next step. I want you to take notes, honorable or what. I am Gloria Oroba. There can only be one name. By the time the court directed us from the High Court to go to the political party, because as you have heard, Parliament is captured by the executive. Most of us are hanging on a very thin thread, and it is the judiciary that is holding us where we are. All of us, those who are being really sacrificed and punished for speaking the truth, that the judiciary will not fall into the trap of being captured by the executive. So there is no next step. I am alive. I am still fighting for women. We are still working. The women are still with us. And as you can see, our spirit is not broken. They might have tried to break my spirit 10.5 million ways. But we are still here. Yeah.
Very good. I think I'm taking the last question. Yeah. Let me hear the lady first.
From Minoro TV.
Yes.
Right now you are not that deep in UDA or in the opposition because they are in government still. So are you forming another alliance with the likes of Akina Edwin Sifuna, Babu Owino?
I knew that question would come. Because most of you, when you saw my presser, you were asking me whether I would comment about our Kenyans who serve under the 13th Parliament, both the Senate, what to do in 2027, because 2027 is 2 years to come. We have realized that in as much as we talk about 2027, young people of Kenya are dropping from university. Women of Kenya are being butchered. Children of Kenya are hungry. And so we realized our mandate right now, that is why we are there. If you listen to us, like for example, when we went for our first meeting, towers came up, issues of diapers came up, issues of Linda Mama came up, because we had gone for a women activity meeting, and 2/3 gender came up. So we are not coming together, so leave us. If Kenyans believe that what we are saying is what they want, if Kenyans realize that we are the right people to resonate and to advocate for their rights, and decide to make us what they would want, what we are doing, we are pressing for the Kenyans' needs, and if that we mutate to a political party, or we mutate to a coalition, or we mutate to a force that we can